Hey guys, how's it going? It's Andy from Go Investing. Happy Wednesday. 2020 just keeps doing 2020 things. I moved up from California like a week and a half ago to get away from the wildfires, and now I'm up here and the wildfires are almost getting worse than what they were in California. So we have some massive fires that are like 30 minutes south of me right now, and it's getting to the point where the air quality is the worst on the planet, so not ideal. But today I wanted to talk about what's been happening with the stock market because we've seen some really interesting things in the past couple days. I decided to take Tuesday off because we did have that long weekend. I just wanted to see what happened in the overall market. And so in today's video, I kind of wanted to talk about why the market's been falling and the fact that we had the fastest stock market correction that we've ever had. And so I'm going to explain what that means, and I'm very curious to see how you guys are feeling about the overall market. Because when I made that video, we did have some significant declines on Thursday and Friday. But then I said going into the weekend, I was kind of expecting that whenever we have a long weekend, you usually come back with some news that pushes the market up. And we did not have that, and Monday was a brutal day. So let me know in the comment section down below, scale of 1 to 10, how panicked you are about the overall market conditions right now. So yeah, as I mentioned, Tuesday was very interesting for the stock market, and there wasn't really any catalyst that pushed it down. We did have tech was the one that was pushing the market down significantly, as I've been talking about for the past couple weeks, just based off how overextended it is right now. But yeah, the market was down 4%, and Apple and Tesla were at the forefront of it again. Tesla had a couple bad news stories that were pushing it down. You had stuff that it was not included in the S&P 500, which a lot of investors were kind of banking on. And I believe I've talked in past videos about the importance of that, the fact that if you're included into the S&P, there's a lot of indexes and funds that are required to own every stock that's a part of the S&P 500. And so there was a lot of buying based off of that anticipation. And that did not happen. There's also some news that GM invested into the competitor of Nikola, which is the electric truck company that has had its meteoric rise, and then it crashed, and then it was up like 40% yesterday. But as a result, Tesla was down around 20% on Tuesday, which was the largest single day decline that it's ever had. But on Tuesday, Apple was down 7% and was down 14% over the past 3 days, which is its worst 3-day decline since 2008. So we've seen some significant moves on the overall market. And as a result of the selling, NASDAQ was down 10% over the past 3 days, which means that we are officially in a market correction. And you could argue that it's not completely in a market correction. You know, as of today, we are up, but we did have a 10% fall from the top. Correction is a 10% fall. A bear market is more than 20. So we're kind of in between that area. And it's actually the fastest time that we've gone down 10% in the overall market since we beat the record back in March. So we've seen some significant moves in the market. And so in today's video, I was going to be talking about energy stocks overall, but I kind of wanted to give my opinion on where the market's going to be going. So in today's video, I wanted to talk about what I've been seeing in the overall market and discuss some of the areas that I'm watching going forward. Because at this point, who knows where the market's going to go? Before getting started, I do have to say that I'm not a licensed financial advisor, and this is not financial advice. Anything you see in this video is just me giving my own opinions on the stock market, and you need to do your own research. Also, if you've been liking these videos, I really appreciate it. Hit the like and subscribe button, as it would help my channel out a lot. With that out of the way, let's get started. And I just kind of wanted to ramble about the stock market. So personally, I'm not that panicked at this point. If I had to put myself on a scale of 1 to 10, it'd be like a 4. Based off of Friday, I was at like a 2, and now I'm up to a 4. And the reason for that increase in my panic level, which is still relatively low at this point, is the fact that the market has been moving like this without a significant catalyst. If you think back to March, which feels like years ago at this point, it made a lot of sense why the market was falling. You had the pandemic that was really starting to heat up. You're starting to get all the shutdowns for the first time, and it was affecting every place on the planet. And so it made sense why the market was falling significantly during that time. However, when you look at the news for the past couple days, there hasn't really been a significant catalyst that has pushed the market down like a pandemic. And so some of the news stories that I've been seeing, you have the Tesla news, but Tesla isn't the most important stock in the stock market. So it going down 20% is significant, but it's not a reason why the whole market would crash with it. The only news that I saw from this past weekend that I thought was significant was Trump has been talking very anti-China. It seems like anytime the market has some volatility, we go back to the trade war stuff. But Trump was very direct about his intentions for China going forward. And so there were talks about removing a lot of the American businesses from China, putting tax incentives to bring workers back to America. And then there was stuff about putting tariffs on countries that were removing jobs and moving them to China. So this is pretty strong words coming out of Trump, and it'll be very interesting to see how his stance changes going into the election. And the election is the thing I'm really watching going forward. In the past, I've talked about the tech earnings at the end of, I believe that was July, that I was watching, that I thought could be really significant if we saw some bad misses. And we had some companies like Netflix and Microsoft that did miss a little bit to the downside, but for the most part, the earnings reports are very good. And so looking on the calendar, I don't really see a lot of things set in stone that I'm like, that's an important date. We do have the Apple event, which I believe is going to be September 15th. And based off of the importance of Apple going forward, that could be interesting, but I don't think it's going to be as important as the overall election. So going into that, I wouldn't be surprised to see Trump take a stronger stance on China overall. And whenever Trump has done that in the past and the trade war talks have really heightened, it usually pushes the market down because trade wars are not good for the overall market. But then you also have the idea that Trump has been talking about, maybe things aren't going as well with the pandemic, but the stock market's up. And so you have this interesting situation where he probably wants to be very strong against China, but if he does that, it might push the market down going into the election. So there's a lot of things that could happen going forward with that. And I really have no idea what he's going to do. I don't even think he knows what he's going to do at this point. But I think it's really interesting that the market has been moving 3 to 4% on every day for the past 4 days without any significant news. And what that tells me is the market's just kind of being as volatile as possible. It makes a lot of sense when you get some positive news. When the market's been skyrocketing for the past couple months, there was plenty of opportunities for good news events to come out, the weekly jobs report, stuff like that. And the market did not react to anything this week. And so it's a lot of people that have been selling off on the tech industry, and that makes me a little worried going forward. And so when I'm looking for plays going forward, I'm not looking for anything short term. The fact that you really have no idea which direction the market's going to go has me very worried for my short term plays. For my Sonos position, I am heavily considering selling 50% of my shares, so I just have one lot of 100 shares. Because at this point, I did have some support and resistances charted, but as I've mentioned in the past, anytime the overall market sells off, support and resistances don't really do a lot. And so I was very excited because the market was being pretty predictable for the past couple months, and I was able to make a decent amount of money off of that. But now as we're getting into the hysteria of maybe the party's ending, maybe the Federal Reserve isn't going to be boosting up stocks as much as they have in the past, and the market's been falling, and support and resistances don't really do anything for you. So going forward, short-term plays off the table for me, and I'm very curious to see what you guys are targeting going forward. I still think, going back to my last video, that the areas that I'm looking for long-term investments, I think my video still stands. I think areas of the beaten down industries like energy, the financials, and the airline stocks. And out of those industries, I picked JP Chase, ticker symbol JPM, Southwest, LUV, and then I picked Chevron. And I think these are still great opportunities. But as the market falls, I don't think this is the time to buy back in. We've seen plenty of instances of sustained selling for a couple days, and then you have one day where the market recovers a little bit and it falls significantly. Going back to March, I believe it was like March 12th or March 13th, we saw a significant day of selling, down like 6 or 7%. And then the next day it was up like 4 or 5%. And I remember seeing people online saying, maybe we've hit the bottom, time to buy back in. And then the market gapped down and we had another 7% loss the next day. So I think it's very important to be very patient with the overall market, especially when you don't have any catalyst that you can look at and be like, okay, maybe this is starting to get better. And so going forward, it's going to be very interesting to see where the market goes. It doesn't really have a direction at this point. It seems like we're just kind of waiting for any significant news, whether it be positive or negative, to impact the stock market. And as a result of that, I'm going to be sitting on the sideline and all my positions are going to be set in stone at this point. I'm just going to watch and see what happens. So let me know what you guys are watching and let me know, scale of 1 to 10, how panicked you are about the overall stock market in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching. I believe my next videos I'm going to be talking about the different sectors and talking about my favorite stocks in each of those, unless the market decides to do something crazy in the next couple of days. So thanks for watching. I appreciate all the support, and I will see you on Friday.